never could figure out what was causing it, what was really triggering my atrial fibrillation. Sometimes it'd come on after I ate. Other times after just bending over. But then other times I'd bend over and nothing would happen. Sometimes it'd be related to stress. But other times stress wouldn't trigger it. So I never really could figure it out. But AFib became my constant, or my near constant companion. I was always scared. When am I going to have my next episode? You guys understand that, don't you? Constantly living in fear. When is the next time? AFib becomes frequent and it becomes frightening. When you've had when you've had a near stroke and you've had blood clots, living with atrial fibrillation is not normal. So as a result, my family traveled with me. They wouldn't let me out of their sight. And you can imagine what a toll that takes when your whole family is going with you everywhere you're going. Or someone's always with you because of the concern, because of the risk. You know that atrial fibrillation takes a huge toll on you. It's physically exhausting, emotionally draining, and it takes a huge financial toll as well. Some people miss work, lots of work. Other people lose jobs because of AFib. And then there are the medical bills, the trips to the emergency room, all the cost of the medications and the treatment. And for some of us, if you have heart disease or you have atrial fibrillation, you can't get insurance. So the toll is tremendous. And I know many of you understand that. I hope that many of you don't, but I know some of you do. The toll is tremendous. But you don't hear much about the financial impact. It's really just too embarrassing. Too embarrassing to talk about. Well, the worst, however, was the Coumadin. How many of you are on Coumadin or warfarin? Wow, most of you are. Is it working for you?
I don't know.
Okay, you don't know? Okay. Okay. And some of you have real problems with your Coumadin? A few of you have? Okay. Those of you that have Coumadin under control are really lucky. Not me. I didn't have it under control. Being on Coumadin meant weekly trips to the Coumadin clinic for a blood draw to check the INR, the International Normalized Ratio, to check whether my blood was too thick, too thin, or normal. It was never normal. Never. So because of that, that meant constantly adjusting the dosages. As I ping-ponged between blood that was too thick, with the risk of clots, and too thin with the risk of bleeding to death. And then Coumadin also means no yard work, no kitchen knives, no using a razor to shave your legs because of the risk of cutting yourself and not being able to stop the bleeding. And then, as Dr. Shukla mentioned, then there's the bruising. How many of you have had severe bouts with bruising? Coumadin will definitely do that, won't it? Well, did you know that when your blood's too thin, it will leak out of your blood vessels? And that can cause bruising. Even, a slight touch or a slight bump will cause bruising. But sometimes you have bruises come up in places that you know you didn't bump. You know you didn't touch. It's just because of the leaking of the blood out of the blood vessels. So as a result, I was covered. Black, blue, and purple bruises. My arms, my legs, my torso, even my face. You haven't lived until you've tried to cover purple and black under eye circles. Loads of fun. And of course, the worst part of that, wherever we went, I could hear my husband telling people, it's the Coumadin. She's not battered. Well, the worst of the husband. Some of you may have heard from your doctors that, and from other people, that if you eat right, you'll be fine on Coumadin. And that may be true for a lot of people, but it's not true for everyone. At least it wasn't true for me. If you're stable on Coumadin with what you're eating, you're lucky. But not me. So in the summer of 2005, research came out that indicated that about a fourth of Coumadin patients are never stable on Coumadin for genetic reasons. If you're 53 years old and you're looking at spending the rest of your life on Coumadin, is that a good prospect? How many of you would choose to do that? I don't see any hands going up. No. I didn't want the nightmare to continue. So I started looking around. We looked into, my doctor and I both looked at catheter ablations that Dr. Schuchler just spoke about. At the time, the risk seemed too great, the success rates too low. So for us, it wasn't a good choice. We chose to say no to catheter ablation. There's been a lot of progress since that time, but at the time we said no. But then my engineer husband happened to come upon a surgery for AFib. Minimally invasive surgery. No cracking open the chest, no heart-lung machine, no long recovery period. Fewer risk than catheter ablation and higher success rates at the time than catheter ablation. And no multiple procedures. Once, and you're done. I asked my doctor about it. She said, that's your solution. And she referred me to a surgeon who had been doing this procedure. Well, the surgeon spent all the time in the world, all the time I needed, telling me about the procedure, answering my questions, and I had many questions because there really wasn't much information on the internet at the time. Your doctor may not know, your regular doctor may not know about this surgery even now. It's still not widely known about. So feel free to send him or her to stopafib.org to learn more about surgery for atrial fibrillation. I'll tell you more about it in a minute. It's stopafib.org. So in visiting with the surgeon, I was really intrigued that you could do as Dr. Schuchler said. You can touch around those, you can go around those pulmonary veins, cut off those erratic electrical signals, and potentially eliminate atrial fibrillation. And oh, by the way, as part of the surgery, they removed the left atrial appendage. The left atrial appendage is considered to be the source of about 95% of the clots that cause strokes. So by removing that, that could virtually eliminate the risk of a stroke. It was a no-brainer. 10 days later, and a few tests later, I was in surgery. Tuesday, September 13, 2005. 13 is my lucky number, and it sure was.